my name's Jacqueline Swift. I am joined here today by the gorgeous Cleo Lacey Edward, founder of Demi Couture Stylist. Cleo, it is such an honor and privilege to have you here. As you know, we are good friends. I absolutely adore what you stand for, your brand, your following. And I'm just delighted to have the opportunity to sit down with you and get to know a little bit about your journey, a little bit more about what inspires you, what drives you, and, you know, get under really who is Cleo Lacey Edward.
I'm not being paid enough for that, darling.
So Cleo, tell me a little bit about your journey. How did you found Demi Couture Stylist?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I feel so honoured to be here. I really, really do. So thank you, darling. So where did it all begin? I decided that I definitely wanted to, well, I didn't decide. My dad decided that I definitely needed to go to university. So when I did, I went to an agricultural university, believe it or not.
I don't believe that.
Yeah, I did. Which he adored. So it was called Harper Adams in Shropshire.
Yes.
And I didn't do agriculture. I did business and marketing because I always knew my dad was self-employed. And I always knew that at some point I wanted to be self-employed. I always knew that I would have my own business at some point, but I kind of didn't know what I did. I was a very young, naive 18-year-old leaving post A-level, went to university, did business and marketing, best 4 years of my life. Oh my God, it was just the best. Wonderful university. But I did stick out like a sore thumb because, you know, I didn't go to lectures every day in my rugby shirt. Not that there's anything wrong with rugby shirts, but it just wasn't really my style and my vibe. So I have always loved fashion. I've always had a passion for it. I've always loved the power of clothes and how, you know, sadly, first impressions do count, but it really intrigued me as to how you can really judge someone. Maybe that was Pretty Woman growing up, I don't know. And so when I left university with my degree, I decided I wanted to be a fashion buyer. I did my dissertation on the effects of branding within the fashion industry. And I went to work for John Lewis and did a graduate training scheme with them to become a fashion buyer. But basically, I got bollocked every day. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that on here, but basically, yeah, I just got told off because I wore either too much makeup, too much jewelry. I just wasn't a sort of corporate type of girl, basically. I then, after about a year, left John Lewis. Not that there's anything wrong with the brand at all. It's fantastic. I still use it, you know, today. But for me, I just didn't I just didn't fit in. I didn't fit in with uni. I didn't really fit in with John Lewis. I then went to work for a lovely spa called Ragdale Hall, which is not far from where I live at home. And I became the buyer there for a number of years. So everything that was kind of sold within Ragdale, I would source from various different trade shows. And then I went to work for the wonderful Amanda Wakely, which is obviously where my sort of fashion life begun, really. And then sadly, my dad got quite poorly about 15 years ago. And I had to move home back to Leicestershire. So I was working sort of between London and Oxford at the time. And I decided that my passion was dressing, at the time, women. And I loved giving them that confidence and that self-esteem purely by showing them how to dress for their figure and their personality and their lifestyle. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to do this for myself. But obviously 15 years ago, there was no social media. There wasn't really many personal shoppers or stylists. And everyone thought I was nuts, other than my dad, who was like, Cleo, you know, there's nothing that you can't do. If that's your dream and that's your passion, then absolutely go for it. And so I did. So I trained to become a stylist. Not that I think it's really something you can train. You've either got it or you haven't. But, and I don't mean to sound big-headed in that way, but I just feel like you can't really do this job unless you literally eat, breathe and sleep it. And then I started my business nearly 15 years ago. And from then it's just grown from strength to strength. It was all done on word of mouth. Predominantly it still is now, but obviously social media does play a big part in it as well. So
yes, but your reputation precedes you. Yeah. You know, you do get a lot of recommendations, your followers.
I do.
You've got a great following as well, which we'll cover a little bit later.
Yeah.
So just to reflect on what you just said, so for you, really, it's almost like you were trying to find your identity.
100%.
But you knew that something wasn't right.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's really important, I find, that as business owners and entrepreneurs, you know, a lot of people out there think, you know, what's the first step? What is it that makes us think, okay, this is the next stepping stone for me?
Yeah.
And for you, it was you went to uni. wasn't quite right.
Yeah.
Then you moved on, you had the John Lewis experience in which, it was great, but you still didn't feel that you were in your own skin.
100%.
And then, you figured out that, you wanted to follow in your father's footsteps of setting up your own business.
Yeah.
And he inspired you to pursue your career.
Yeah, definitely.
And so talk to me a little bit about the importance of identifying for you, how you felt in yourself going, okay, this isn't right for me. Like, what made you realize that instead of just saying, actually, I'm going to blend in, I'm going to kind of mold myself to fit into the crowd, because it's hard to stick out sometimes and have the confidence to go, no, that's not me.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that.
I don't know whether being an only child has kind of shaped me in the way that I am and how my personality is, and the fact that I suppose because I didn't have to compete with anybody else, I just had that confidence to be able to know that if I want to do something, I've just got to do it. And I've always been the mindset that if you want something in life, the only person that's going to give it for you is yourself. And I've always had that encouragement to know that nothing is failure. You only ever grow from that. So actually, failure is a good thing, and you've got to see it as a positive, because it then gives you the foundations and the building blocks to be able to move on from that and to be bigger and to be better. And you can't do that without failure. But for me, in terms of blending in, I just never felt I quite did. And then I think maybe because I've been an only child, maybe I am naturally a bit of not a loner, because that sounds a bit sad, but I think I just work well doing my own thing, keeping in my lane. I literally put my head down, which is, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. And to me, there's no competition, because I'm a massive believer in you buy from other people. I'm a massive people person. I thrive off other people's energy and their vibe. And like COVID for me was a shocker, because everyone loved working from home. And I was like, no, I just want to be around human beings. And I think for me, it's meeting those people in your life that, what do they say? A reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Yes.
And for me, that's always been the case. I'm a huge believer in your gut and what your inner kind of compass tells you. And for me, I've always kind of known that if something hasn't felt right, I've got to move on, because I can't just stay in that place. That's not, I've always got to kind of be moving. And there is a downside to that, because I'm always striving for more. And not that I'm never happy, because I'm very happy, but I'm always pushing myself, always to the next level.
As you have the ambition and the drive. So Cleo, obviously, you are an influencer. You have a massive social media following. In your career, it's really important to stay true to who you are and also preserving your energy. Talk to us a little bit about how you do that, why it's so important to preserve your energy, and, what advice you've got to give to people when they're looking at, how they protect that.
I don't know if I'm the best person to ask about that. I'm still learning, to be honest with you, darling. But I think because my job is very demanding in a way that, people just think I shop for a living, and it couldn't be further from that.
No, it isn't.
There's so much more involved. Generally, your clients are in a position in their life where they feel they've had to reach out to you because there's something going on in their life, whether that's been childbirth or menopause or divorce or a career change or circumstances. They're generally in a position where they're not happy, and that's why they've brought you into their life to help them. So it's not just going in and having a glass of fizz and doing a bit of shopping. It's so much more than that. And with that comes a bit of therapy. I mean, there's only so much I can do with clothing, but still, whenever you meet someone, it is very much you are there to kind of nurture them and take care of them and start their little journey, whatever that direction may be. It might just be a one-off time that they see you and they think that, I've got enough from Cleo that I need. But then it could be a lifetime journey, as most of my clients are. They, see me every year, twice a year, if not more. So I think preserving your energy is, for me, I have to learn to put my phone down. That's my biggest thing, because, I'm always on it because I've run my business through it. And my following is incredible. Like, I am so grateful for them, beyond grateful. Yeah. But it's demanding at the same time. So, I've got a very reactive audience. So I will get messages every day, all day, at all times.
Yes.
And you have to learn to manage that in terms of, your personal relationships as well, because they don't always see that side of it.
Being able to switch off.
Yeah.
And, for me, when I came to you last year, it's like what you said there, I was in a stage in my life that I almost felt like, where had my identity gone? I didn't quite know how to feel confident again. And, when you came into our home and, Teddy was there and we just had such a fabulous day. And it's just, you have this energy about you as well, that you know how to go through people and their experiences and what they're feeling. And you adapt that certainly from my experience as to how I was feeling and what I needed from you. And, you helped me curate a whole new wardrobe, which I just feel so much more confident. Even going out, I don't just buy for the sake of buying, which, is something that's so important to you. You believe in, in quality over quantity,
100%.
Curating a wardrobe the correct way. And that's one of the things that I learned from you, in that I will now go, is it Cleo approved? No, it is not.
Put it down.
Would you put it down? Or would you go, what are you thinking? So, and you have to adapt that through so many different styles and people.
Absolutely.
And that's just not a straightforward process, is it?
Well, no, not at all, because I think my natural style, I'm very classic. I'm not really into trends. And as a stylist, that's quite unusual. But that's, I believe in dressing for your body shape and for your personality and for your lifestyle and your budget. And as much as you definitely want to tap into those kind of looks that are current, because you don't want to look dated or old-fashioned, equally for me, a wardrobe is something to, like you just said, curate over the years. It's about investment pieces in the right places. It's quality over quantity, because that's when you feel and look your absolute best. So people will naturally come to me that are more attracted to that style. So they might be more of a classical dresser. They might like more of a muted, neutral color palette, which is definitely what, I wear more of. But equally, you may get a client who is totally the opposite and has come to you purely because, you know what you're doing. But equally, I've got to dress her how she wants to dress, not how I would like her to be. So it's about meeting in the middle somewhere, definitely.
Yes, and you're brutally honest, which I love. I absolutely love that. And my mother enjoyed that very much, as you will recall. Yes, she's going, yes, tell her again.
No, I am.
But that's rare as well, because some of the experiences out there, when you get the services, is people tell you what you want to hear instead of what you should hear, which is, darling, step away from that, because you're beautiful, but that doesn't suit you. And you're honest.
That's what people pay you for. You're paying me to be honest and to do my job. A lot of people say, oh, you don't need a personal stylist. I'll come and help you. But your friends are going to be kind to you. They love you. And, I am brutal because I have to be. I do it in a kind way. And you never feel, I'm always empowering my client and filling them with confidence and self-esteem. But I'm doing that in a direction that they need to be taken into, basically.
Which is great. And you absolutely love the style as well. So obviously, you're a stylist, but you have taken that to a different level. You have built a brand, that you're very proud of. And, it's been a pleasure to see you develop. So, and that's a hard step. That isn't something that happens overnight. No. So tell us a little bit about brand identity, what inspired you to go, okay, I want to build a brand. It's, I'm a stylist by trade. I love what I do. I love empowering people. I'm passionate about dressing them, but I want to build a brand. How did that look for you?
I'll be honest with you. I didn't really think about building a brand. It was just, I guess, something that's just happened naturally over time. My core sort of ethos is just being as genuine and as authentic as I possibly can, which is quite hard in the industry that I'm in. But with that has come some fantastic opportunities. So over the time of being on social media, and I'm definitely I do not see myself as an influencer whatsoever. That's not my job at all. But I just have a presence online that helps market my business, is how I see it. But I've always been very genuine and honest on there. So I would never, I've been offered a lot of money to promote certain things, which I never would do because I genuinely wouldn't use them myself. And I think now that is becoming more and more prevalent with the people that are doing really well on social media. You know, I'm a tiny little fish in a huge, huge pond. But what I've always maintained is that genuineness. Like, I would never, ever, you know, go on social media and say, oh, you need to buy this and earn money from it, when I genuinely wouldn't use it and wear it myself. And I'm glad I've stuck to my guns and done that over the years. You know, I probably could have earned a lot more money doing elsewhere, but I can go to bed at night and sleep soundly knowing that I have been genuine to my following. And I think with that comes trust, and they believe it. And although my following is very small in the grand scheme of things, my followers they know that.
Yes.
And they trust me. So they know that if I'm saying to them, oh my God, guys, this white t-shirt is absolutely amazing. The fit's incredible, the quality, the shape, they'll be like, right, I trust Cleo, and they'll buy it.
Because you've built that trust. Yeah. You know, it's about,
so it's more about trust than I think than brand. And I've had some incredible opportunities come from it, but I think it's just about sticking to your guns and what you personally believe in.
Because obviously online, it's so easy to get sucked into so many different paths. And like you say, you know, it's about being accountable and responsible as well for what you promote. And,
Absolutely.
you know, you are very true, you're very direct, you're very honest.
Yeah.
And, you know, that again shows that passion that drives you in respect of being true to who you are, which goes back to the beginning of you, young Cleo, going, yeah, not for me, but it's okay, I'll move on. Yeah. And I think that has mileage, especially for young women and young men out there going, you know, the next steps when you don't know what to do and who you should be, and the importance of being true to yourself. And look at what you've built.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. Okay,
so I think that what are 3 things that are definite no's for you? Like, you would never, ever, ever go in respect of that, like in a fashion sense? Is there like particular things that you would just be like?
We know what number 1 is, don't we? Crocs. Honest to God, they literally bring me out in hives. I'm telling you now. Yeah, Crocs has to be up there at number 1. And then what would number 2 be? I would probably say, I think I'm quite a girly girl. I'm quite feminine. Despite me being an alpha female, I am very girly in what I am attracted to in terms of fashion. So a lot of the sort of recently, these past few years, it has been very much like the granddad sandal, for instance, coming up to spring, summer. Literally, I just can't do it. No. I just can't do it. And then the sort of the whole, I don't know, the trainer thing. I do like a pair of trainers. I'm getting into them, but I can't do the whole trendy trainer. It just does not suit me. And I'm sorry, but it's just not my vibe. So I think you've just got to hone in on those things that sit with you, and not just because it's on trend. Because if it doesn't feel right when you're putting it on, like, you just don't do it. So Crocs is obviously number 1. I'd say probably the granddad sandal would be number 2. Number 3, what I definitely wouldn't do. Probably not a lot of frills. Okay. I'm not really a frilly person. Busy. Yeah. That's probably not my vibe.
Okay. I love that. So the 3 things to avoid, you know, we heard it here.
Crocs, granddad sandals, and frills.
And frills. Forget about it. Walk away, people. So looking back on your career, you know, 15 years you've been going, and, you know, if you could talk to young Cleo now and say, oh my goodness, you know, can you believe that this happened? Do you have like a top selection of things that you feel that, you know, over a career of many, many proud moments, have you got any highlights that for you particularly stand out for you?
I think I would have just told myself my grandma always used to say to me, my nana always used to say to me, you can do anything. Like, that was just her thing that she would say to me. But it's only my later years that I probably really understood that. And I think when you're younger, you don't have that confidence and you don't really have the balls to go out and do what you want. But I think when I grew up, it was very much like you were meant to find a boyfriend and get married and have a family, generally in your 20s. Yeah. And I was just never ready. Like, it just wasn't the path that I wanted to take. That wasn't my dream. I didn't dream of getting married. I didn't dream of having a family. I didn't dream of, you know, I knew it would maybe happen at some point, but definitely not when all my other friends, you know, were going down that route. And I think I would have just reassured my younger self that actually that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that held me back slightly because I was like in a battle of, well, this is what I'm meant to be doing, but actually I don't want to do this. I do want to go. It's
like a tug of war with yourself going, should I, So
I think I would have just told my younger self that just to reach for those stars and do not look back. Just go and travel more. Mm-hmm. That's my only kind of regret in life. I don't have any because I don't believe in them, but I feel like I would have loved to have seen more of the world than I have done right now. And if I had a daughter right now, that's what I'd be telling her.
Travel.
Go and see that world and enjoy every single moment of it.
And if you could flip it the other side, what would you tell young Cleo were your biggest achievements so far?
Okay, so my biggest achievements, gosh, as crazy as this sounds, overcoming loss. And that has been my biggest achievement, I feel. Not that you ever kind of overcome it, but it's not actually been business. I'm super proud of where I am now, but actually it's to have a love like you have and then to lose that is the hardest thing in the world. It's the hardest thing. But to be able to carry on and keep going and just get better every day, I think is my biggest achievement.
What did you pull from in those days? What kept you going?
I have a very, very small family in terms of both parents were only children. My grandparents and my great auntie and uncle kind of raised me. But with that, I obviously lost them very young. And I always just feel their presence. I know this sounds really probably a bit juju and a bit crazy, but I always do feel them around me. And their strength they do give me strength.
Yeah.
And that's who I genuinely do look to. And I just kind of ask for their guidance and their strength, and I just feel them.
Well, you're a big believer in people energy as well.
I am.
And you obviously
Huge.
still feel their energy around you.
I absolutely do.
And I find that, as a woman, pulling through, we have so much strength as women.
Oh my God, do we? Yeah.
To get through, and that resilience that we have. And I think we don't celebrate that enough as women. And, you're a big advocate for that.
Huge.
So what do you think, if you were speaking to somebody that was going through loss or trying to overcome a difficult period in their lives, what would you encourage them to focus on?
I think taking a bit of time out for themselves. I didn't. I just went straight back into it because when you're running a business and you're self-employed and you've got bills to pay and it's hard to say, I'm going to take a month off work because you're probably not in a position where I wasn't in a position where I was able to do that. But I think if you are in a position to be able to do that, you absolutely need that time to just kind of be at peace with yourself, because otherwise it does affect you, I think, in later on in life. And to seek that inner circle around you.
Yes,
their
so
support
important.
and love is what gets you through it 100%. You can't be alone in times like that. And you've got to find your tribe around you, and they become your family. They really do.
And that is so critical, I think, in life is, and they're not always your blood relations, are they?
No,
you can pull so much
not.
energy from wonderful people that you meet along the way.
100%.
And, you've been so blessed to meet so many wonderful people. And some of your clients do become close friends of yours.
Well, I say this because the year I did lose my dad, I also ended mutually a long-term relationship. And at the time, my mum was in hospital over Christmas. So it was a hell of a year that year. And waking up alone on Christmas Day when you've lost what you have lost, and you're like, I don't know where this is going. My mum's in hospital. I've just lost my dad. I don't have a partner. And then the people that reach out that you least expect it to say, come and sit with me and my family for Christmas Day. I will never, ever forget that. Never, ever, ever. Like, it meant more to me than anything.
Yes.
And they might just have been a client that I've seen a couple of times, but the fact that they felt that in them to be able to reach out and offer that love to me, I'll just never forget that. And
that
I think
speaks
that's
to
why
the impact you have on people when you meet them, though. That speaks to how you present yourself and, that light. And I think I said that to you after we met. You have this light about you in that you're able to see what that person needs And I think that's a prime example what you just explained there, when somebody, a client reached out, or somebody that you might not have known that well reached out, because it speaks volumes as to who you are and what you stand for. And I think that's really powerful.
That's very kind of you to say. But I think with my job, you have to read people. That's a huge part of what I do. And it doesn't matter if they're in a stately home or a 2 up, 2 down. It doesn't matter. You can't, with my job, people can think I'm materialistic, but you couldn't be further from it. Like, you cannot judge anybody upon what they look like, what they earn, where they live, because in my line of work, doing what I have done for so many years, you see all kinds of backgrounds, and you realize that some of the kindest people are not the ones that live in the hugest houses, or some of the wealthiest people are actually not your best clients or the people that will stay with you forever. So never judge a book by its cover.
It's the power of people, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me about, the importance of, you mentioned about dressing and, making a first impression. And one of the things that I feel confident now, certainly after seeing you, is about when I have an important meeting or I'm stepping into a room. And I know it might sound crazy, but when I get dressed, I dress depending on the confidence that I need at that moment in time, or like, okay, which Jackie needs to present herself today. So talk to us a little bit about that and the importance of how you dress to almost put an armor on and go, I'm going for this.
Absolutely. I love that you brought this up. So, you do dress for your day. Like some days you might just want to nurture yourself. Yes. And you know what? You might just want to stay at home and put on a cashmere twin set and feel cozy and comfortable and relaxed and nice. Exactly. No makeup, hair up in a ponytail. And then there's days where you need to show up and you've got to enter that room with severe confidence, and your wardrobe does that. So for me, I would say I'm a huge fan of a blazer because it gives you structure. It makes you look smart instantly, even with a pair of jeans and a pair of heels. As much as nobody wears them anymore since COVID, because nobody finds them comfortable. Heels do elevate you. They do give you confidence. They do completely change your posture, the way you look, the way you feel. So for me, it's like my armor would be a blazer and a pair of heels. That would be my absolute armor. And I love a dress. I feel, because I think I naturally dressed, towards the more feminine side, I feel really good in a long dress, but equally a blazer and a pair of heels is my absolute go-to.
And it's so important to determine what makes you feel that confidence and go, you feel dressed, you feel armed, you feel ready. Yeah. And that is something that you certainly help people in achieving. Yeah.
And everybody's is different. Everybody will have a uniform that they hone in on or that they feel really good in. And when I first meet a client and we fill in their questionnaire, and I always ask them, what do you feel good in? Mm-hmm. Like, are you a jeans girl? Are you, what is your go-to outfit? What makes you feel confident, like you can conquer the world? And then you just evolve from that and take it on from there.
So what happens if somebody reaches out to you and says, I don't really know what my style is. Yeah. I feel a little bit lost. How do you approach that with them?
So it can be quite common. It can be that, I wouldn't cut my own hair. I wouldn't wallpaper my own walls. I pay a professional to do a job that I can't. And that's what people do with me. And for some people, they feel like they've never had a style for their entire life because they've just not quite found something that sits here, that they feel good in. And I think with that, I kind of ask them about maybe finding some images, maybe on Pinterest, of styles that they're naturally attracted to. Maybe there's a celebrity or someone in the public eye that they look at and think, oh, I love the way that she dresses. But what I always try and say to them is, do they look like you? Do they have your body shape? Are they your height? Are they your coloring? Because if they're not, you've got to find someone that resembles you in some way. Because I have a lot of clients that go, I want to look like this person here. And I'm like, yeah, but that's never going to be achievable. No. So you've got to work with what you've got, which is absolutely fine. We've just got to work what basically works for them.
And that is so important.
Absolutely.
Again, it's the honesty. I mean, I remember being 19 years old. I went into a hairdresser, and I remember, I think at the time, like J-Lo was getting like blonde highlights or something. And I went in and I said, I want these blonde highlights. And they're like, sure. oh my goodness, I had like white tiger stripes through my pitch black dark hair.
Oh my God.
Because they said, yes, it'll suit you. And I walked out with a baseball cap going, oh my gosh. But that's like so important. Is exactly what you're saying. It's that honesty and integrity
to be
going,
honest.
you know, Jackie, the white stripes aren't going to suit you.
Definitely not, darling.
Can you believe? Oh God. But again, it's so important. It's being honest and representing the brand.
Yeah, totally.
And, you know, obviously you've done many events. You know, what's driven you to host these events? What's your passion behind that?
I think for me, it's as you get older, friendships do naturally drift. Mm-hmm. And you do find a new set of friends. Obviously, you've still got your friends that you've been friends with for years, and you're very lucky if you're in that position where you've had your friends for 20, 30 years. It's incredible. But sometimes when people's lives take a different journey, it's quite hard to maintain that relationship in some instances. And I think as women, it's hard to find your little crowd. And like-minded women, women that support one another, that don't want to bring each other down, that aren't, you know, talking about you as soon as you leave the room, or, you know, that want the best for you, that want to support you. It's hard to find that. And I think for me, these events, I just want to bring this group of women together that's got a great energy and a great vibe. And they're all about lifting other women higher. And when you bring that into a room, it's electric. It's phenomenal. And the business that happens in the room, you know, it's not just about that. It's about the future. It's not just about those few hours in a restaurant. Yes. It's about what goes on from that. And life isn't easy. We have to work hard every single day, whether it is work or personally, or it's hard.
Yes.
And I think having a tribe of girls around you that go, do you know what, I've got your back. Yeah. We've got this. Let's go for it. It means so much. What keeps you going? What drives you? It's like, right, yeah, I've had a bit of a shit time, but now they've told me I can do this. I'm going to go for it. Absolutely. That's what it's all about. And for me, I just had this vision of bringing these women together, creating this incredible electric atmosphere, that they would go away from that and go, oh my God, I've met this person. And I love it because I see them all following each other on Instagram, supporting each other still, doing business together. Like, it's just amazing. Yes. So yeah, that was my drive for it.
And that was your passion, just bringing people, like-minded people, Absolutely. Energy. And that is so important. Yeah. You know, and again, it just goes back to your true self in respect to feeding off that energy, wanting to be surrounded by the right energy.
Absolutely.
So it sounds to me from everything that you've said is that it's so important to have that holistically placed for you in respect of the energy, what you look to achieve, ensuring that you're true to yourself, being accountable to your brand and your responsibility to your followers. And it all comes back in a full circle in respect of, you know, Cleo Lacey Edwards and what you stand for. Yeah. And I think that is rare. I do genuinely think that's rare, especially in your industry. And I do believe that you're seeing more influencers have more accountability now.
100%.
Because of the dangers out there of promoting things that aren't, you know, actually what they're saying that they are. So, you know, that's commendable.
Yeah.
So, Cleo, let's just pause for a second and think about, you know, your business journey. So for any of our listeners out there that are thinking, you know, I want to take a leap into setting up on my own, or I'm wondering if I should, but I'm scared, I don't know what to do, you know, what would be your advice to them? Is there anything that you would any nuggets of wisdom that you can say in respect of setting up on your own? Because it's a big step. It's a scary step.
Huge.
But, you know, what would be something that you would say to them?
I'd say if you have passion, drive, determination, and authenticity, you can't fail. You literally can't fail.
Just do it.
Absolutely. Just don't stop. Head down. Go, go, go.
I love that. So Cleo, I feel like there's a branch of your brand that we need to discuss. And, you know, you recently went into property. And, you know, I am very, very excited to be one of the guests next, this weekend. This weekend. I'm so excited. So talk to me a little bit about Hillview.
So my dad was a builder. That's what his profession and his trade was. And he always wanted me to get into property and construction. It was just his dream for me to do that. But I just loved clothes and fashion. And I was like, Dad, I do not want to get into houses. And I think it's always intrigued me. Like, and I love interiors, and I love, I think it's just in my blood with my dad of growing up with, going to blooming building sites every sodding weekend. And I think it's always something I have wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then the Cotswolds has been a really special place for me. We were talking earlier about how switching off and trying to get away from work. And I find that really, really hard. But actually, whenever I'm in the Cotswolds, I feel this just sense of peace, and it really makes me feel happy when I'm there. I've never been there. I can be there in rain and miserable weather, yet I feel really content there. Although I wouldn't want to live there full time, for me, my switch off happy place is definitely there. And to be in a position to be able to invest in a property there is a dream come true. It's a lot of hard work, and I have pushed myself beyond anything I could have ever thought I could possibly do. But as you probably gathered, I kind of have a habit of doing that, and I'm a big believer in you have to speculate to accumulate. So I've pushed myself to be able to do it. And, for me, that's my little retirement. It's my pension pot, and it's going to hopefully bring my mum some really happy memories. She loves it down there. Hopefully get to spend some time there with friends, and so.
And you've curated that place yourself. I mean, one of the things that I read about it is everything in there is pretty much built to fit the space. You've hand selected everything in there. Talk to us a little bit about that experience. And was it, for me, I can just imagine this like dream come true of going in fabrics and this and that. And is it like that, or is it a mixture? Is it like, oh my gosh, there's all of this to do, but there's also the fabrics and the fabulousness. And then is it a mixture, or is it just like the most amazing experience ever?
No, it pushed me beyond anything that's ever pushed me, if I'm honest. But I think if I didn't do what I did now, I probably would do interiors, because I love it so much. I think it just kind of goes hand in hand for me. So actually, it was a really enjoyable project to do. Obviously stressful and expensive, kitting out an entire house, but I really, really enjoyed it. And that kind of country Cotswold style is definitely what I hone in on anyway. So it was a really enjoyable experience. It was, it did push me, but I've loved doing it. So,
and your husband Jack helped. Did he get the lights wrong? Did he help?
Not really, no. He put the Christmas tree lights up that basically looked like a dachshund outside the front of the cottage, when I got millions of photos saying, Cleo, you do realise that the pictures look like a dachshund? I was like, oh my God. Not that there's anything wrong with dachshunds, but still. So no, he did take a bit of a step back from it and let me, that was my project and my little thing. Obviously always supporting from the sidelines.
Yes.
But no, he did nothing.
Get the lights wrong. But no, you've got a lovely relationship. You've married Jack. You've been together now a few years since you got married. And you talked earlier about, your dream, your driver, your passion in life was to be true to who you were, to build something that was meaningful to you, a legacy of your own, something that your father inspired you to do. But then, along came love knocking on the door. And
later on in life.
And you found that. And, it's lovely to say, that sometimes you feel that you can't have both, that you feel that you have to sacrifice one or the other. Talk to us a little bit about how you try to achieve that balance as a business owner.
It's hard.
And finding that switch off, especially with your following as well. And, I struggle to switch off from my phone, not just from my friend's point of view, but from a work point of view. And with what you do, it's so much fun as well. And you've got so many people that you love and you care about. And then you've got, your family and your husband. How do you try and balance that?
Oh my gosh. I don't think I do, if I'm honest.
The £1 million question. How do you do it?
I don't. I think it comes, thank goodness, and I don't think I could be married to anyone else, because Jack is so laid back. He is just the most placid, kind, caring, just chilled man I've ever met. And I don't think actually I could be with anybody else but someone that had those personality traits, because I am 1,000,000 miles an hour. I am all over the country 7 days a week.
Your car is your home.
Yeah, exactly. And he is just so understanding of it, And sometimes you think, does he actually care about me? But no, he's so supportive. He understands that it's business. But I try and have that Sundays, I try and have a bit of a sacred day where I try and not go on my phone as much and not reply to clients and things like that and social media, because, you know, I need to give him some of my attention because he's so understanding. And then, you know, we try and have a nice couple of holidays every year and go away for like nice little weekends in the UK and just really spend some quality time together. But it's not easy. God, it's not easy at all. And I'm still learning now. And I'm definitely not the perfect wife by any stretch of the imagination.
No one is.
You know, so I'm very lucky in the fact he's super independent. You know, he's quite capable of putting a wash on and cooking his own dinner, thank God. And he probably does that more than I do, if I'm honest.
So it's also having your boundaries, protecting your quality time. Yeah. And that's really important, especially as a businesswoman, because you do need, you know, your partner to be supportive and understanding. And that is so critical, isn't it?
And we have a rule that when we're out for dinner, the two of us, my phone is down. Yes. And there's no checking it. There's no, you know, it's because it's really, really important. And I need to give him that time. I'm
going to take that away. I'm going to put that challenge to the test. I'm going to make sure that I do that next time I will test it this weekend.
Yeah. Give it a go.
Cleo, it's been such a delight to sit down and talk to you and get to know you a little bit better. You know, everything from the beginning, how it started, hearing about your dad, you know, the passion, the drive, what really inspires you and everything you've achieved. And it's been such a pleasure.
Thank you.
I just don't feel that we can wrap this segment up without bringing Mommy Lacey up.
God.
I adore her. And I've not even met the woman, but I think she's going to have her own following. I mean, tell us a little bit about Mommy Lacey, because she does her cameo appearances from time to time in your social media. I mean, she must be a force to be reckoned with.
Oh, just a bit.
I mean,
she's the older she's got, the less she cares, basically. So there's no filter whatsoever.
No, there isn't.
Like, you just want to constantly cringe. She embarrassed me when I was younger, but now it's like a different level that I actually just have to laugh at her now, because I'm just like, oh my God, did you actually come out with that? But in a way, you know, I can't tell her what to wear because she will just wear the opposite. And I can't tell her what to do or say because she's just a mind of her own, which actually is applaudable, really.
I love that about her.
And, you know, I think she's just at the age now where she just doesn't give a damn. And
I think she's earned it, though, right?
Yeah,
I think
has.
And that'll be you and I at one stage.
Yeah,
we will have bloody earned it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unfiltered.
Yeah. And she loves a drink, basically. So you'll find her in the pub most of the time, surrounded by men.
Oh, God bless Mommy Lacey. But, you know, she is. But obviously, you must draw some inspiration from her at some level in respect of your own unique self.
Yeah.
And being who you are and speaking out, because that's very important to you.
That's true. Very true. Yeah.
So, Cleo, thank you so much.
It's
been a pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us today. If you want to watch more, click like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.